And Chase ruined that plan. Because he wants me to tell stories. So, to fit the theme, I'm going to go ahead and tell all stories that involve him. And one of them, the first one I'm going to tell you, got my ass whooped as a child. So, when you are poor and you live in a trailer behind the place where your mother works, it's called Central Plastics, you kind of find a way to entertain yourselves, whether it be finding a well that says don't go near and you start throwing random shit in there. There's like chemicals. It's probably my water that I'm poisoning, but we would just throw all sorts of shit in there. And so we found a box full of silverware one time, and we were like, I love knives. I'm 5, I should have knives. And they always had truck trailers, like big semi-trailers, like 18-wheelers, behind the Central Plastics, just adjacent from my trailer. And we thought the greatest idea ever was to make like Rogue Warrior tires and just poke all the knives around in a circle around the tires. Yeah. Those explode, by the way. Those things are under so much pressure and weight that they like blow up. So like at any time, like if we just like got like 12 knives in and then just like hit a sweet spot, it could have just blown knives all over us. So that wasn't very smart. But Chase ended up going home, but I lived there. And Mama wasn't happy. Mama was very not happy. One, for the fact that I took all the steak knives. I was very selective on my steak knives. Wood handles only. I know they were the best. Mama told me they were the best, so I used them for my own endeavors. Number 2, Mama had to pay for all those tires that we popped. So she had to work extra, you know. She knew the owner and the operator and stuff. So she put me to work, like slave labor. Like I was a sweatshop worker at 5. It like comes up in conversation very little, but I would actually have to go in and help her out sometimes. And me and Chase did about all we could to keep from helping. So we found a bucket of golf balls one time, and we found this big, fucking like 10-foot wide exhaust fan that didn't have a cover on it. And we would just stand at the edge and throw fistfuls of golf balls at it and like dodge them. Like give ourselves like wicked Matrix training from like day one. Like friggin' Ninja Warrior, dude. Like I remember one time I was like, bro, what if we threw them in at the same time? And he's like, bro, that's a great idea. And I was like, better yet, what if we filled my shirt and we dumped them in? And he's like, even better. So we filled my shirt with golf balls and we just kind of like leaned over the railing and we started dumping them and they freaking started flinging everywhere. But we were so committed to getting every golf ball in there that we were just like dumping it like way underneath like the one like bar of railing that we had. And I remember thinking like a year later, I was like, we almost died probably 1,000 times to that fan. It was an uncovered metal like exhaust fan for like a big central, like, you know, like a plastic like fabricating lab. So a couple years later, we were staying at our friend Gabe's house, and for some reason we told ourselves that the neighbor had a dead cat in the pool. It was a vacant house, nobody lived there. But we knew there was a pool there, so we always made this joke like, yeah, there's a dead cat in the bottom, bro. We'd be like, bro, did you see it? And he's like, no, bro, but I know it's there. It just has to be. So we finally decided to find out one day. So Gabe had a lot of Nerf guns, so we had to take protection, of course, and we masking taped a bunch of knives to the end of the Nerf guns. Yeah, as one does when they're like, I think we were fucking older than we should have, but we were probably like 12 when this happened. I wanted to say younger, but I think we were like 12. So, but I packed like bobby pins and like a fucking flathead screwdriver. I had all the basic B&E equipment you need to like go into somebody's home. And we get up to the front door, and for some reason I like have this satchel full of just like break down the door devices, and I just tried the doorknob and it was fucking open. Just walked right in. And we were like, what? Like nobody lives here, like why is this open? And then we get to the back door and we open it, and we go out to the pool, and it's like this disgusting, like heinous green and black. Like the deep end was like pretty deep, but then the shallow end was just like covered in like shitty leaves that had rotted over the years. And none of us wanted to dig for the cat. So we just kind of stood around it for a couple of minutes, like throwing bigger rocks in it, making bigger splashes. And then we got bored of that like 20 minutes later, and we decided, all right, let's go back to Gabe's house. And like a scene from a horror movie when they open the closet and the killer's in it, We open the front door and step out, and there's an older gentleman standing there like, what are you kids doing? Now, I had about 45 seconds worth of slow-mo time. You know that time where like you get freaked out and you're like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And you got about a minute of like your own mental capacities time to like think of a plan. I was like, okay, we're caught. We shouldn't run right across the street because that's where Gabe lives and he'll know where to knock on the door. We should run down the street, take a right, hit the park, take another right, take a left, get to Phoenix, ride a bus back to Gabe's house, and then we'll be safe. And about the time I get done, like, okay, I know what we're gonna do. Chase goes, run! And runs right next door, straight into the house. And I'm like, wow, dude, like, way to just fucking, you might as well just like shoot somebody in the head, call 911 on yourself, and sit patiently. So naturally the guy grabs me and Gabe and fucking walks across the street, knocks on the door, and sees that Chase's mom is there and Gabe's mom is there, but my mom's nowhere to be seen. But their moms, since I'm like a couple months older, chewed my ass off like they were my mom, because somehow it was my fault that we did it. But me and Chase used to mix some questionable chemicals in like puddles of water. Just for, like, we just find like a can of wasp killer and just fucking hose it down and then like mix some oil in it. And I'm honestly surprised, like we put stuff in like a septic tank one time, like chemicals, and like I started to kind of feel woozy. And we just, rather than like that being like a huge like indication like, oh, I don't feel so good, we should get out of this tiny like trailer bathroom. We doubled down and we sat in the tub. We're like, dude, I wonder if this is gonna start bubbling. Just like this should react. I mean, it's feces and shit that gets rid of feces. It should bubble a little bit, you know? And nothing happened. And that same trailer park, we built a shed in the backyard, and the only thing that shed did for us was give us a knife throwing target. Like my parents never put anything in it. It was empty from the time we were there. Like we built it to the time we left. And one day I had my hunting knife and I was throwing it, and I got a couple really good sticks and I was getting pretty confident. Chase goes, dude, you should run like 3 houses down into their backyard and throw it over 3 backyards and hit your shed. And I was like, perfect, dude. Fuck yeah, let's do it. And I ran around the side and I came back behind. And I was about to throw it and I was like, hey, Chase, you should stand behind the wall on the other side, like, so you don't get hit by accident. And he's like, okay. And I don't really know if he ever moved or not, but I just was like, okay, 2 seconds, long enough, throwing it. And I threw it and I nailed it. And the excitement we had when I hit it, dude, it was like that scene from Spirit when the dude's tied to the post and the freaking knife falls in and he cuts himself free. Like, we were just like awestruck that I was actually able to get the right throw on this knife to actually hit, not only hit my shed, stick into it. And so later on, I was hunting. Chase wasn't here for this, but I'd honed my craft. And I was determined. I was going to kill a squirrel with a Ninja Star. I had a Ninja Star. I had the license to kill. And I was like, this is going to happen. Like, I'm going to do this. And finally, the perfect storm happens. We were parked, me and my buddy, and we'd been parked for like 30 minutes, like nothing had happened. We were like, I was about to get out to go to the bathroom, and I opened my door, and a squirrel like ran under our car and like stopped halfway up a tree about the height that I was like used to practicing. And for a split second, I was like, this probably isn't humane. Like, I probably should just shoot it. But then my better judgment got the best of me, and I freaking hurled it, and I nailed it, and it died quick. And I was like, okay, perfect. That'll be great. So another animal, we've had animals in our life die, like everybody has, you know, like hamsters and shit. But me and Chase were fishing one year at our annual fishing trip, and I got a new pole. It's the first time I'd ever bought my own pole. It was a brand new setup, rod and reel combo. I was stoked. I was like, I'm a working man. I can get my own shit. And for some reason, everybody decided to go to a different spot and fish, but we knew where to fish. We were like, we are staying here. We were like the tree huggers that climb halfway up redwoods and just piss and moan, like, don't cut it down. So we stuck it. We stuck our heels in and we dug in and we said, we're gonna fish here. And we got snowed on and everything. And we hadn't had a bite in like 4 hours, and finally Chase was like, I'm gonna go get coffee. And I was like, yo, dude, pick me up a cheeseburger from like the lodge. And he's like, all right, bro. And I'm sitting there freezing. I was wearing a onesie. I forgot to mention, I was wearing a rubber ducky and bubble onesie because it was like the warmest clothes I had. So picture this, he starts walking down the jetty, and I'm like, oh shit. I haven't caught any fish but if you give a man a burger and fries, he eats for a day, you know? So I was stoked, and it was cold, and it was wrapped in tinfoil, so I'm like, ooh, it's probably hot. And I totally disregarded fishing. I stopped looking at the poles and everything. I just stared at them the whole way. It was like a 3-minute walk. Like, nothing mattered behind me anymore because I knew a cheeseburger was inbound. So, and finally he gets up to me and he goes, hey man, your pole looks kind of funny, man. Your line's like really loose. And I was like, oh, it's nothing, dude, cheeseburger me. And his nephew goes, no, dude, I think you're getting a bite. And I was like, nah, dude, it's cool. Let me have a sip of that coffee. And I turn around and I realize that I'm getting hammered. And as I get down there, I run down there. It's the perfect storm. I got a cheeseburger on the way. I'm about to catch a fish. I reach down, and the pole just exoduses out of my hand, just right into the lake. And I stood there for a second. I was like, this can't be real. I was like, this shit doesn't happen to people. Like, this happens on a boat. I'm on the bank. Like, no way. And Chase runs up behind me with the net, and he's all excited because we were like praying for a fish. He's like, bro, grab your pole. Let's get it. And I'm like, well, it's gone. Like, I don't know where the pole is. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, my pole's not there anymore. The fish took it. And he's like, oh, okay. So we sat there long enough for me to eat my cheeseburger and him to finish his coffee. And we're getting ready to go. We were actually packing up to go. And about that time, his pole bends in like a real slow, gradual, like, and it just stops. And I was like, oh, dude, one of the boaters pushed your stuff into some weeds and you're snagged. And he's like, oh, well, we're leaving anyway. I'll reel it in. And he starts reeling it in, and we're like, you know, for a snag, this is like moving. Like logs don't really like fucking wiggle. Like, I've never known a tree to like wiggle as it was like underwater sopping. So he starts reeling it in, and across his fishing hook is a line that is bowed, and one end of the line is vibrating like crazy. And the first thing I thought of was, dude, he just hooked the line that my fish has been towing a fishing pole around with for like 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, this shit can't be happening, whatever. I'll just grab the line and get my pole back. And I felt like the fish on there. So I'm like, oh shit, dude, get the net. And I pull it in and he nets it. And this lady down the jetty, like, is freaking out. She's like, you're catching my fish. That's my fucking fish. And I was like, lady, I assure you, this is not your fish. And if it was, my friend caught your line. So, like, finders keepers, like, fuck you. Like, I'm gonna cut your line. And she was screaming, she insisted, like, give me my fish, that's my fish. And she saw the line that was, like, connected to the fish, so she assumed it was hers. And I just decided, I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna pull on the other side of the line. Let's see if it's actually on her pole. That'd be kind of funny if it was. And I start pulling it, in like a freaking scene from a movie when the torpedo comes out of the submarine. Here comes my pole, slow rolling up the bank. And this lady's line is attached to my pole, and she's just like, oh, okay. And I was like, lady, like, why would you steal a fish from somebody? Like, that's typical fisherman's code that, like, he who, like, reels it in, it's their fish. Like, even if it was on your line, I reeled it in. So, I mean, that's just some cool shit that me and Chase have done in the past. I'm really gonna miss the guy. I really wish him well. I hope he has a blast. I hope that he finds fucking true happiness where he goes. I hope that he meets lots of people that, like, impact his life the same way he's impacted mine. I really hope that he keeps doing his music and he gets better at that and goes on to be famous one day and pay for me and make it to where I don't gotta do shit no more but hang out. Like, sit on his tour bus and be his bodyguard that doesn't really do anything. You know what I mean? Anyway, thank you guys.